On September 18, 2025, the South China Sea, a vibrant stage where trillions in global commercial transactions intertwine with the purest geopolitical aspirations, was on the brink of conflagration. The atmosphere was dense. A thick curtain of uncertainty hung over these strategically important waters. Emerging from the morning mist, a Chinese destroyer of the advanced Type 052D class, recognized for its sophisticated anti-aircraft defense capabilities and guided missiles, advanced with unwavering determination. Its bow, meticulously designed to cut through waves with maximum efficiency, sliced the ocean like a sharp blade, leaving a foamy trail in its wake. Overhead, a squadron of J-15 Flying Shark fighters, multi-role combat aircraft designed to operate from aircraft carriers, roared through the skies, their jet engines emitting a deafening sound that heralded the imminent conflict. Simultaneously, somewhere beneath the surface, invisible to the eye and most detection systems, a Chinese submarine furtively lurked, moving with the discretion of a cunning predator, strategically positioning itself for an unexpected attack. Beijing's intention was crystal clear and audacious: to encircle, intimidate, and ultimately demoralize the powerful United States Navy in the most disputed and economically crucial waters on the planet. This act of defiance was not merely a display of might, but constituted a declaration of sovereignty and an explicit attempt to redefine the regional order. However, what the Chinese forces could not perceive was infinitely more dangerous and decisive than what was visible to them. Beneath the turquoise waters, an invisible hunter awaited, a Virginia-class attack submarine of the U.S. Navy, silent, patient, and lethal. Its presence was a jealously guarded secret, a hidden ace capable of turning the tide of events at any moment. A misstep by either side and the delicate balance of power in the region would be irremediably compromised, transforming a calculated provocation into a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions, with global repercussions. This scenario did not merely represent a clash of steel and cutting-edge military technology, but a true duel of wills, strategies, and conceptions of power. The question hanging in the air was simple yet laden with significance. Would America, known for its resolute stance, flinch under pressure? Or would it reveal the silent and overwhelming truth of unparalleled power, a response capability that transcends mere ostentation of force? Don't just be a passive observer of this engaging narrative. Delve deeper into the discussion. Like this video, subscribe to our channel for even more detailed analyses, and most importantly, share your insights and theories in the comments below. We genuinely want to know your opinion on this complex geopolitical landscape and its potential future ramifications. The morning of September 18, 2025, began seemingly like many others aboard the USS Princeton, a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser, a bastion of American naval technology. Inside its robust steel structures, the constant hum of state-of-the-art electronic equipment harmoniously blended with the measured and professional rhythm of the sailors at their posts, each performing their vital function with military precision. Outside, the tropical sun of the South China Sea beat down mercilessly, its intense humid heat mitigated only by the continuously circulating air conditioning on the ship's bridge, keeping the crew alert and comfortable. For the experienced Princeton crew, this should have been another routine freedom of navigation patrol, a mission that in essence consisted of 99% tedious monotony and 1% pure terror, the unpredictability inherent in operations in contested waters. However, that 1% of terror had just manifested abruptly and undeniably. On the long-range radar, an unexpected contact emerged, with a precise bearing of 085 and a distance of 20 nautical miles. The voice of the young operations officer, though firm and well-trained, contained a tone of controlled urgency as he reported, Sierra 1 identified, Luoyang 3 class destroyer, Type 052D. The identification confirmed the presence of one of the most modern and capable warships of the People's Liberation Army Navy. Initially, the Chinese ship's presence seemed routine, a common encounter in these international waters but frequently patrolled by both powers. Indeed, encounters with Chinese warships were a frequent occurrence, part of the intricate geopolitical dance in the region. However, within a few minutes, the fragile serenity was dramatically shattered. The Chinese destroyer abruptly accelerated, displaying impressive maneuverability. leaping from a cruising speed of 18 knots to a remarkable 30 knots in less than 90 seconds. Its vector line, projected on the tactical display, directly intersected the Princeton's bow, establishing a collision course with a closest point of approach, CPA, of 0. On the tactical display, the red track representing the Chinese ship glowed intensely, an unmistakable warning sign, a harbinger of imminent danger. At this speed and trajectory, the vessels were on a collision course to meet in just 12 minutes. Impact seemed inevitable, a collision with potentially catastrophic consequences. It became evident that this was no mere navigation accident. It was a calculated and deliberate maneuver, a direct order emanating from the high command in Beijing. It was a test of resilience, a dilemma imposed on the American crew, to alter course and be perceived as weak, yielding to pressure, or to hold firm and risk a naval catastrophe with international repercussions. It was not merely a tactical naval move. It was a geopolitical message of great weight, intended to be heard in capitals around the globe. If the Princeton retreated, it would grant Beijing a symbolic victory of immense propaganda value, strengthening the Chinese narrative of regional hegemony. If, on the other hand, it remained unyielding, the world could be a single miscalculation away from a disaster that could precipitate a large-scale conflict. And all this time, the South China Sea, a vital artery for global trade moving a $3.4 trillion annually and a vast repository of unexplored energy, with extensive oil and natural gas reserves, was at stake. The stage was set for an epic confrontation. The question was no longer if the standoff would escalate into open conflict, but how far this escalation could go, and what its global ramifications would be. What began as a reckless and provocative naval maneuver was now metamorphosing into a confrontation of wills across all dimensions, involving not only military assets but also the reputation and credibility of two of the world's greatest powers. On the bridge of the USS Princeton, the red vector line, incessantly pulsing on the tactical display, narrated its own story of defiance and imminent danger. It was undeniable that China had no intention of backing down from its aggressive stance. However, Washington, anticipating such provocations and escalation scenarios, had engineered a robust and multifaceted response. And when Beijing chose to intensify the tension, America reacted in kind, not with impetuous and disproportionate aggression, but with a meticulous and calculated orchestration of power and deterrence. From an imposing altitude of 25,000 feet, an E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, an airborne early warning and control aircraft, swept the immense battle space with its state-of-the-art radar, covering a 360-degree area with unparalleled precision. The calm and professional voice of the flight controller transmitted the crucial update. J-15 Flying Shark fighters had been launched en masse from the deck of the Chinese aircraft carrier Shandong. Nearly a dozen luminous dots representing enemy aircraft lit up on the Hawkeye's scope, and others followed in successive waves, indicating a considerable approaching air force. To the untrained observer, this massive display of air power was, without a doubt, an intimidating spectacle. However, to the experienced eyes of American military personnel, it was a familiar pattern, the well-known prelude to a campaign of psychological and tactical pressure. Almost simultaneously, the sonar technicians aboard the Princeton, trained to discern the most subtle sounds in the oceanic depths, stiffened at their posts. A low-frequency growl, unmistakable and menacing, echoed in their headphones. Contact Victor 1, Type 0329 submarine, diesel-electric, bearing 142. The identification revealed the presence of a Chinese submarine, known to be audible, but dangerous enough to significantly complicate the tactical picture. Beijing was, in fact, orchestrating a coordinated squeeze, a pincer strategy, a destroyer ahead, fighters above, and a submarine below. A three-pronged demonstration designed to corner the American cruiser, and by extension, the entire U.S. Navy strike group. It was a clear attempt to overwhelm American defenses and force a retreat or an unfavorable response. However, the United States was more than prepared for layered threats, having invested substantially in integrated defense systems and asymmetric warfare strategies. At Aero 937, the electromagnetic catapults of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the newest and most advanced aircraft carrier in the American fleet, roared to life with a deafening cry of stored energy, a testament to cutting-edge naval engineering. Deck crews, wearing color-coded vests indicating their specific functions, moved in a precise and efficient choreography, a dance rehearsed over years of rigorous training. Yellow shirts signaled aircraft readiness, green shirts armed missiles and bombs, and red shirts locked weapons with millimeter precision. With a thunderous roar that reverberated for miles, the first FA-18EF Super Hornet, a multi-role fighter bomber, was hurled into the sky, propelled by the catapult's force. It was quickly followed by another and then another in an uninterrupted succession. Within minutes, the airspace above the aircraft carrier swarmed with American steel, an overwhelming display of air power. But this was not the Navy of 2005. America's strategic repertoire now included cutting-edge assets that China had not yet encountered at sea, representing a substantial technological leap. Silently gliding from the deck came the MQ-25 Stingray, an unmanned aerial refueler, an innovation that would revolutionize naval air operations. Its crucial mission: to extend the Hornet's flight endurance, allowing them to remain on patrol longer, strike more distant targets, and decisively deny Beijing the luxury of time and space to maneuver. Minutes later, two F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters, fifth-generation aircraft with advanced stealth capabilities, followed suit. Their angular structures and radar-absorbent surfaces allowed them to absorb enemy radar waves, making them virtually undetectable as they disappeared from Chinese screens. For operators aboard the Shandong, the aerial panorama began to disintegrate into a cacophony of conflicting information. Too many echoes, too many blind spots, rendering the tactical picture unintelligible. Then came the invisible and devastating barrage. The EA-18G Growlers, electronic warfare aircraft, activated their state-of-the-art electronic warfare suites, flooding enemy radars with a torrent of phantom signatures and electronic interference. To Chinese operators, a dozen Hornets looked like 50, an overwhelming and illusory force. F-35s appeared and vanished, reappearing miles away in a matter of seconds, creating unprecedented chaos. The tactical panel in the Shandong's Combat Information Center, CIC, flickered with ghostly images, targets that did not exist but consumed precious resources and attention. Targets everywhere, targets nowhere, complete informational paralysis. And yet, the Princeton maintained its unaltered course, a fortress of stability amidst the electronic storm. Its Aegis combat system, one of the most advanced in the world, silently tracked every blip, every lock, every movement, maintaining impeccable situational awareness. The VLS, vertical launch system cells, remained inactive. The Harpoon missiles, designed for anti-ship attacks, remained dormant. This was not a restraint born of fear or hesitation, but of unwavering confidence, the kind of confidence that comes from carrying dual-capable SM-6 missiles, capable of shooting down aircraft or warships at distances China simply could not match, a decisive technological advantage. By 0947, nearly 50 American aircraft had taken to the skies, forming an impenetrable barrier of steel and electrons that dwarfed the Chinese J-15s, which desperately fought for an advantageous position. And beneath it all, the discreet and spectral presence of a Virginia-class submarine maneuvered undetected, lurking, a latent and undetectable threat. And for the first time that morning, the balance of power unequivocally shifted in favor of the United States. Beijing sought a test of nerves, a demonstration of its growing influence. What it got was irrefutable proof that American patience was not synonymous with weakness, but rather a weapon sharpened by overwhelming and technologically superior capability. The trap had not yet been sprung, but its jaws were inexorably closing. By late morning on September 18, 2025, the standoff in the South China Sea had transformed into something far grander and more dangerous than either side had initially anticipated. What began as a single reckless and provocative maneuver was now unfolding into a high-intensity confrontation that captured the attention of all admirals and military strategists in the Pacific and beyond. The South China Sea, shimmering and deceptively serene on its surface, had metamorphosed into a geopolitical chessboard of epic proportions, where every tactical and strategic move carried the weight of a potential catastrophe, with the risk of triggering a regional or even global conflict. Above, condensation trails left by combat jets scarred the blue sky in white streaks, while nearly 50 American aircraft patrolled in compact and disciplined formations. Among them, FA-18EF Super Hornets, bristling with a vast array of armaments ready for combat. EA-18G Growlers hummed with a constant electronic threat, their electronic warfare capabilities neutralizing enemy defenses, and the F-35C Lightning IIs with their stealth capability slipped in and out of radar invisibility, confusing and frustrating Chinese detection systems. Below, the guided missile cruiser, USS Princeton, proceeded at a constant speed, a floating fortress, its Aegis system silently mapping the vast battle space in real time, maintaining complete situational awareness. And on the horizon, imposing and majestic like an island of steel, stood the colossal USS Gerald R. Ford, its flight deck a bustling hive of activity, launching more aerial assets into the air with each passing minute, reinforcing American air supremacy. China had further escalated the situation, and now in an even bolder act of audacity, had gone beyond a simple provocation. Around 0947, deafening alarms blared on the Ford indicating an imminent threat. A Chinese Type 052D destroyer had locked its fire control radar directly onto the aircraft carrier itself, an act of aggression that, in naval terminology, represented the final stage before pulling the trigger and initiating an attack. Inside the Ford's Combat Information Center, CIC, trained fingers hovered over consoles, prepared to unleash salvos of SM-6 interceptors, harpoon missiles, and defensive decoys at a single word of command. Young sailors, many on their first combat mission, felt their throats tighten, fear and adrenaline coursing through their veins. No training exercise, however realistic, had prepared them to face the imminence of a real adversary's hostile intent. But the Ford's captain's reaction was not panic or hesitation. It was a demonstration of unwavering composure and exemplary leadership. His voice, measured, cold, and authoritative, cut through the tension in the room. Maintain posture. Hold fire. Restraint at this crucial moment was not an indication of weakness or indecision. It was, in fact, a weapon in itself, a manifestation of strategic strength and tactical discipline. Washington deeply understood that the primary objective was not merely to survive the next 5 minutes of tension, but to shape the narrative that would echo for decades in the annals of geopolitical history. If America reacted precipitously, Beijing would capitalize, portraying it as the impulsive aggressor. But if America remained unyielding and firm under the most extreme provocation, then the message conveyed would be devastating in its simplicity and impact. We fear absolutely nothing you bring to the table. This demonstration of serenity under pressure, combined with superior military capability, constitutes a fundamental pillar of U.S. military doctrine. At 0952, the sea itself, which until then seemed complicit in the Chinese strategy, unmasked Beijing's illusion of control. Just 6 nautical miles from the aircraft carrier Shandong, the water erupted in a violent and unexpected maelstrom. Slowly rising with deliberate and almost theatrical grace, emerged the angular and unmistakable sail of a Virginia-class attack submarine. Cascades of seawater streamed from its stealthy hull as it surfaced, dramatically revealing its presence. For the Chinese admiral on the Shandong's bridge, his high-powered binoculars confirmed what his electronic instruments, however advanced, had failed to detect. The Americans had been there all along, a ghostly and lethal presence lurking near his most valuable asset, the aircraft carrier, invisibly and patiently. At that critical distance, the Virginia submarine's heavy Mk-48 torpedoes were not mere potential threats. They were guaranteed death sentences. Each of these torpedoes carried enough explosive force to break the keel and sink even the largest aircraft carrier, relegating it to the abyss in a matter of minutes. The psychological impact of this revelation was immediate and overwhelming. Chinese radar operators, who moments before exuded arrogant confidence, now exchanged anxious and apprehensive glances, bravado replaced by fear. Pilots circling in their J-15 Flying Shark suddenly felt exposed and vulnerable, realizing with a shudder that the hunter they had never seen had been beneath their feet the entire time. What had been an intimidating display of Chinese force crumbled in a moment of profound existential vulnerability, exposing the fragility of their position. And America, with its orchestration of power, had not yet concluded its demonstration. High above, the unmistakable and futuristic silhouette of a B-21 Raider stealth bomber, the latest crown jewel of the U.S. Air Force, appeared on long-range sensors. It did not dive to attack. nor did it signal any immediate hostile intent, but its mere presence in the airspace was enough to convey a clear and unequivocal message. Everyone in Beijing's chain of command knew exactly what the raiders' emergence meant: long-range precision firepower, capable of obliterating fortified island bases and entire coastal assets in a single mission, with total impunity. The threat, therefore, was not limited to the maritime domain. It extended across the entire theater of operations encompassing land, sea, and air. This was not a limited tactical encirclement. It was a strategic checkmate, a final move that nullified all of the adversary's options. Within minutes, the geopolitical narrative completely reversed. The aggressive destroyer maneuver, the dangerous J-15 overflights, and even the noisy pursuit of the Chinese diesel-electric submarine all paled and became insignificant in the face of the undeniable reality that China's most valuable aircraft carrier was now within range of a predator it never detected, a catastrophic failure of intelligence and capability. On the American side, calm and professionalism reigned supreme. The Princeton continued its patrol unaltered, an image of resilience. The Ford launched aircraft at an incessant pace, a wall of steel and noise that underscored America's global reach and power projection capability. And the Virginia-class submarine surfaced just long enough to deliver its clear message, before silently slipping back into the depths, a constant reminder that it could reappear anywhere, anytime, keeping the adversary in a continuous state of alert and uncertainty. For Beijing, initial bravado transmuted into paralyzing fear. The original intention to intimidate the U.S. Navy had backfired overwhelmingly, resulting in public and strategic humiliation. Chinese commanders, who believed they were orchestrating a demonstration of Chinese dominance in the South China Sea, now faced the exact opposite: a public and undeniable display of American mastery and superiority. At 1623, the final order emanated from Beijing, with a chilling finality that left no room for doubt. The exercise is over. Disengage immediately. One by one, the Chinese assets withdrew, their maneuvers now tinged with retreat and defeat. The Type 052D destroyer reduced speed and altered course, abandoning its aggressive trajectory. The Type 039 submarine retreated into the depths, seeking refuge. The Shandong turned around, its J-15s hastily recovered to the deck, the air power demonstration undone. The scenario that had been prepared for a dramatic escalation dissolved into a humiliating withdrawal. And so, the turning point arrived not with a shot or an explosion, but with strategic silence wielded as the ultimate weapon. The South China Sea belonged at that crucial moment, not to the nation that shouted loudest or uttered the greatest threats, but to the one that proved, irrefutably, that it could neutralize the adversary without firing a single shot. The confrontation of September 18, 2025, ended without a missile launched, without a torpedo fired, without a single life lost in direct combat. Nevertheless, in strategic circles from Washington to Beijing, the echoes of this silent confrontation were deafening and reverberated intensely. What unfolded in the South China Sea was not merely a clash of steel and technology, but a profound revelation of geopolitical truths that will shape international relations and military strategies for many years to come. For Beijing, the lesson was severe and unforgettable. Every escalation on its part, from the aggressive destroyer maneuver to the fire control radar lock, was met not with the impulsive reaction they expected, but with a calculated, multifaceted, and undeniable demonstration of superior capability across multiple layers, a technological and tactical supremacy they simply could not yet match. This event serves as a fascinating case study on the relevance of stealth technology, submarine warfare, and electronic warfare in the contemporary era. If you have a particular interest in military technology and its strategic applications, we have a complete playlist dedicated to analyzing the world's most advanced equipment, from nuclear submarines to fifth-generation fighters. The incident of September 18, 2025, in the South China Sea transcended mere military confrontation to consolidate itself as a landmark in deterrence diplomacy. The American strategy of demonstrating its capability without the need to employ it proved devastatingly effective. By revealing its cards in a controlled manner, the Virginia-class submarine, the B-21 Raider bomber, the Growler's electronic warfare, the U.S. not only neutralized the immediate threat but also conveyed a powerful message about the depth of its capabilities, many of which remain classified and unknown. For China, The event was an abrupt awakening. Confidence in its growing military strength was shaken by the realization that a significant technological and strategic gap still existed relative to the United States, especially in critical domains such as anti-submarine warfare and stealth operations. The humiliation of having its most valuable naval asset, the aircraft carrier Shandong, exposed and vulnerable, will likely lead to an internal reassessment of its military doctrines and an even greater investment in research and development to mitigate this deficiency. In the long term, this could catalyze the technological arms race in the Indo-Pacific region, with both sides seeking the next disruptive advantage. The incident also underscored the crucial importance of American alliances in the region. The U.S.'s aptitude for projecting power so decisively is supported by a network of bases and cooperation agreements with nations such as Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and Australia. The demonstration of force in the South China Sea served not only to deter China, but also to reassure these allies, reaffirming the American commitment to regional security and stability. The message to neighboring nations was unequivocal. America persists as a reliable and competent security partner, willing to defend freedom of navigation and the rules-based order. Nevertheless, the serenity that followed the confrontation is tenuous. China, wounded in its pride and more aware of its vulnerabilities, will likely become more cautious but also more resolute. Chinese nationalism, a pillar of legitimacy for the Communist Party, may demand a future response to restore the country's image of vigor. The risk of a subsequent miscalculation remains dangerously high. The South China Sea will continue to be a powder keg, a flashpoint where the aspirations of a rising power collide with the interests of an established superpower. The confrontation of September 18th did not mark the epilogue of the story, but perhaps the prelude to a new and riskier phase in the Sino-American rivalry. The world watches, holding its breath, waiting to see what the next move will be on this grand geopolitical chessboard. What is your view on the future of the South China Sea? Will China retreat or double down? Share your prognoses in the comments and let's debate the possible trajectories of what is one of the greatest geopolitical challenges of our era. Your perspective is crucial to enrich this dialectic. Thank you for watching and see you in the next analysis.